A late spring freeze left many farmers out in the cold this summer, causing widespread crop damage across the state, in some cases, wiping out entire crops for the year. On top of that, fuel and fertilizer costs have risen dramatically as a result of the war in Iran. Now, Governor Mikey Sherrill and other elected officials have pushed for federal support, a disaster declaration, and subsequent funding to help make up for the losses, but so far, farmers haven't received any financial help. I recently spoke to Rebecca Alstead Modry from Alstead Farms in Chester about their response to the weather and all the other pressures facing their farm. Hi, Rebecca. It's great to have you on the show. Can you tell us how Alstead Farms fared in the wake of this April freeze that impacted so many crops across the state?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me. We definitely had this massive freeze that occurred towards the end of April, and it really did affect all the way from upstate New York down to North Carolina. It affected tree fruit, apples, peaches, had the potential to affect blueberries, strawberries. You definitely see a lot of widespread damage all across the whole region. And we are definitely not alone in that. But we able to really protect our crops and to utilize multiple different protection methods to really still be able to harvest a crop. So we were able to use machinery that was pushing hot air into the orchards, just trying to raise the orchard temperature just a couple degrees. We also use irrigation techniques that spread water all across our fields. And as the water was freezing, it was releasing heat that protected those blossoms, which is what we were trying to protect so much. So we are now through our strawberry season. We had a fantastic strawberry season, one of the best that we've had yet. And that was definitely credited towards our team that was out in the fields overnight, covering them, keeping them warm. We are right in the middle of our blueberry season. Again, one of the better blueberry seasons we've had. And we're starting to harvest some peaches. We're definitely harvesting a little bit lower quantities than we're used to, but our protection efforts did work to the point that we are able to sell both yellow and white peaches right now.
Let me ask
And
you this,
apples.
Rebecca. Was this equipment and machinery that you already had made investments in that you were able to utilize when the weather changed, or did you have to go and run out and purchase this?
So a little mix of both. We've gotten really good at farming with this adversity with different weather patterns. So we have a couple of these things already on farm. We had the irrigation techniques, we had the cover for the strawberries. We did end up going to purchase another one of the wind machines, and we did purchase some of the candles that we used out in the fields before each frost night.
How does that investment, I guess my bigger question is, when you lose a crop, you lose potentially your income for the year, right?
Right.
When we talk about farms in New Jersey and farming overall, we know when we hear so often that the margins are so thin. When you have to make investments in this type of crop saving infrastructure, do the costs ever outweigh the benefits? Or in a situation like this, is it always better to have that investment made?
Yeah, so we're lucky to be in a place that we do agritourism, which means and direct marketing. So everything we're growing is being sold to our customers. Our customers are usually coming on farm, and not only are they coming to pick our crops and enjoy the farm, but they're also, buying other crops that are in the store, or they're buying ice cream or coffee. So that kind of investment in this crop saving technology has never been more expensive than what the protection we get out of it. We've always erred on the side of purchasing this infrastructure to be able to continue to have crops so that our guests can keep coming to the farm, keep enjoying the farmland, and keep being able to have something to pick at the end of the year.
So you are definitely faring better than some, perhaps even than many in the state. But we also just came out of this cyclospora outbreak across the country, although here in New Jersey, I don't believe it was ever officially considered an outbreak. But as a local farm, seeing kind of all the fear of fresh produce that was rising as folks were really becoming aware of this parasite, did that help you? Did that hurt you? What was the impact locally?
Yeah, definitely. I think we saw a lot of people that were starting to really wonder where their food is coming from. And we saw a lot of people coming to us knowing that they would be able to get a hold of one of us that's actually in the fields growing the crops and be able to know how their food was being grown. I think across the state, you saw more of a push towards local produce and knowing that local was safe, especially when, my team is in the ground planting, harvesting, washing, and then bringing it right to the store. So we are able to control that whole process, and I think we were really successful in telling our customers our story, sharing how local produce is safer, and I think it really did benefit the local farmers in the state. And I wish that would continue even when there's no outbreak in more commercial farming. I think New Jersey has so much local food grown here, and I wish that support was there all the time.
It did raise, I saw just on social media, local farmers coming out and saying, look, this isn't the type of thing that you get when you buy local. Not everyone understands that, though. How do you get that message out there?
Yeah, so I think we've tried multiple different ways. We have a fantastic social media crew that's been out filming content, getting that story out there. As people call us and email us or come into our store, we're constantly sharing, I'm the one that's in the fields. Our team is right in the fields. They can tell you exactly how they're washing and planting and growing these crops. And I think the more we talk to people and the more people know that we are a dependable farm and a dependable family to be able to get your produce from, the more that message spreads and the more that message is shared. And I think just like we're doing today, I think, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you have other pressures that you're also dealing with. And I know that when we talked about margins, the impact on the cost of fuel and fertilizer because of the conflict overseas has had a direct impact on local farms, on big farms. How are you managing that? What type of cost increases have you seen since this conflict started?
Yeah, I think in general, farming has been getting more and more expensive. I don't know that you could pin it to one certain thing. It's been happening year over year, whether it's the price of labor, the price of fuel, the price of fertilizer, even just the price of supplies we need, rubber bands to bunch our carrots, crates to store the crops in. So it's a continuing it's a continuing expense. It's constantly more expensive to grow things. And we are really trying to grow such a variety of things that we're able to absorb that cost a little bit more without having to put so much of that on our customers. And I think it's important to note that when you buy from a local farm and you see that their crops are a little more expensive, that is why, because we are handling all of those costs ourselves just over what we're producing.
So the message here, buy local. And New Jersey's got some
Absolutely.
pretty great crops.
Absolutely. That's
And
always
there's
my
no
go-to
better,
message.
yes, no better peach than a Jersey peach at this time of year. All right,
Absolutely.
Rebecca Alstead Modry, co-owner and assistant production manager at Alstead Farms. Thank you so much.
Thank you.